Hi there, and thanks for attending my session at the Catch Up, all about LinkedIn and how you can use it to connect and make an impact across the globe. So this is a quick summary video of the main points we covered, just in case you want to revisit. So we talked about what LinkedIn is and why to use it, and the fact that it is the largest professional social network in the world, with 706 million members and counting, and 11 million in Australia. But it's not just a network of people, it's a network of companies, of schools, of jobs, and it's also a content platform. So there's a lot of information in this platform you can find. But the stat that I love is engagement. So every year, engagement grows 50% on the previous year. And engagement is time spent in the feed, liking, reacting, commenting, using the platform. Over COVID, it went up 48% in that sort of March, April time. So it's certainly a platform to be using to stay connected and to build your visibility. And I'm going to demonstrate why it's really important, whether your clients are on LinkedIn or not. It's important to have a footprint on LinkedIn. Now, the reasons you might use LinkedIn, and this applies to any platform at all, so feel free to review all your social platforms. And this is the framework of my book, Get Good or Get Off, a guide to getting it right on social media, which I co-wrote with Elsa Page, a marketing expert in Melbourne. Now, the foundational level for using something, if you are actually using it, is to use it as a business tool, to research people, to research companies, jobs, or content, and so to discover information. So purely, as a tool, that's a reason to have an account. Then you want to think about if, up from that, you might be building a presence for yourself so that you can be found, so that you can establish your expertise. So you want to have a profile that's complete, filled out, but at this point you might not be using it too much, but you've started building. But then you might think, I want to start building a profile for myself. I want to be the go-to expert in my field. That comes from trust. And from trust comes from having a connection. Connecting to people, having them in your network, publishing some content around your area of expertise so people can understand where you fit into the world. If you're looking for opportunities, though, you need to start not just connecting to people, but building a relationship with people, which comes from engagement, engaging on other people's content, responding to things, because that way people can not only understand your value, but they see value and they'll think of you because you're serving and being of service. And finally, leads at the very top, which is where our clients come from, which is converting the connections we've got into clients. But a lot of people go into LinkedIn looking for clients, looking to sell. And LinkedIn isn't a sales tool. Sales are a result of good relationships. It's a social network. It's a professional social network where it's a publishing platform. And we share content, we engage with people to build relationships. But to sell something, we might be selling ourselves if we're in the job market, but we might be selling our products and services. But we don't go in with a sales mindset. Sales are the outcome. You can have a clear goal about what you want to achieve, but don't go in with a sales message is my main point. Go in being of service and demonstrating your expertise, and you will attract sales. From time to time, you might share some posts about your next thing, your next event, your book that's launching, a new product or service, but it's doing it the right way. Now, LinkedIn is the 25th most visited website in the world. The first is YouTube. Now, the reason this is important to understand is the power of LinkedIn in Google search. Now, I said it's a great tool to use for visibility, regardless of whether your clients and network are actually using LinkedIn. They are using Google. And if people are recommending your services, they're likely to go to Google to check you out. And if they type in your name, or your business name for that matter, you want them to find you firstly, and you want what they do find to represent you well, which is why you want to optimize your main profiles. So your first bit of homework was to do a Google search on yourself, see what's out there. Hopefully your website ranks pretty well. Now, for your website to rank for your name kind of needs to be somewhere on your website, possibly multiple times. So make sure that is the case. I've seen people who have their name nowhere on their website, so it's not going to help them, because people recommend people often if they don't know your business name. So it just gives another avenue. Now, LinkedIn is the 25th most visited website, but I've managed to get mine ranking pretty highly. YouTube is number one. It's still on the first page, and I do have a YouTube strategy, but it's a lot newer. My footprint on LinkedIn is longer and more consistent. YouTube is I've had an account for a long time, but my actual YouTube publishing strategy is much newer. But it is ranking. So if you're not using YouTube, being the number one platform, having a massive audience, and being owned by Google, maybe think about how you can use it yourself in a way that sort of is comfortable and not too time consuming. But look at the other results as well and see what else is showing up for your name. And I'm just demonstrating that obviously I do specialize in LinkedIn. I use it a lot and I've used it for a long time. Yeah, you might be thinking, well, that's why I rank pretty highly. But I've also got a fairly common, popular name. So the competitiveness is quite high. In fact, there are 29 million search results for Joe Saunders. The entire first page is me. And then some of the other results are me as well. So if you've got someone with your name, particularly someone who's got a stronger footprint, obviously they're going to rank for your name. So it might take a bit of work to get your name ranking fairly well. And like if you've got a celebrity, it's going to be even more challenging. There is a Joe Saunders, an actress, but she hasn't got a stronger footprint as mine, clearly. So just keep that in mind. I mean, I'm not promising you can do this for your name, but LinkedIn is free, and it's being so highly indexed by Google and being one of the most viewed websites in the world, you've got a strong chance of using it to your advantage. So same with your business name. Obviously, you want to have your website ranking first if you can, if you do have one. But if you don't have a website, then there are opportunities to rank using social media. So in this case, you can see I've got a Facebook page ranking, my LinkedIn page, and my LinkedIn profile. Now, a profile is for a person, a page is for a business or an entity, or it can be something else, but they're both free. So you don't need the paid version for either of these things to rank in Google. But a company page on LinkedIn, now, if you haven't got one, you might decide to start one, but then you've got to build an audience and, you can have a content strategy there. I probably wouldn't bother initially because there's not many people seeing it. People connect to people, but you might just want to have some content just so you've got a bit of a presence. But it's more important to optimize your page so that it's connected to your profile and a couple of other things, but also it's found in Google. So I do run workshops on profile building, on page building, on networking, on publishing, all separate workshops to cover these things in a little bit more detail. So if you need some help, look out for my workshops through Business Station. They're government subsidized and they're only like $35 to attend a 2-hour online workshop. Sometimes they're in person, but at the moment, due to COVID, they're online. And they're recorded being online, meaning you've got the information to review. So if you need some help, I can certainly help you. Now, I guess my methodology behind what I teach, I've given a name, and that name is Connectfluence, which is the art of connection to influence and make an impact in the world. And there are 3 main components to Connectfluence. First being energizing your presence, which is who you're being. It's sort of how you're positioning yourself online. It's how you write your profile, how you share your company page, those sorts of things. The second piece is establishing your credibility. It's what you are doing online. What are people seeing when they look for you? And this comes from content. So what kind of content are you sharing and engaging with? How are you building that footprint? And then finally, it's about earning influence. Influence can't be bought. Influence must be earned. And influence comes from being of service, and it's who you engage with. So it's building relationships and spending time engaging with content from the right people. So then you're building those relationships, that trust, and earning the influence. So let's start with the energizing your presence, the who you're being, how you build your profile. Now, you might have heard the quote, your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And it's that sort of conversation. Someone's looking for an expert expert help on whatever the problem is, and they mention you. How do they talk about you? And more importantly, the room is now online. So when they're searching for the answer to the problem and they find you, is your profile showing up? And does it represent who you're being? So think about that. Think about your profile right now. So second piece of homework, once you find yourself, find where you rank in Google, look at your profile, particularly on the mobile app, and just see in seconds, does it form a good impression? Does it communicate your value? And so you'll notice the first thing people see obviously is your photo, your name, and your headline. These three things are part of your digital footprint. They follow you everywhere on LinkedIn. So your headline is this bit of text that positions you and communicates what you do. So I'll go through my 5 V's just to review them in terms of your profile. So number 1, visuals. So you've got your photo. So if you don't have a photo, people don't trust you. And in fact, if you do, you're 21 times more likely to be clicked on in the search than if you don't. So you want to have a photo that's up to date, looks like you're in business, just you, the person that would show up to that meeting. So be that person, because you want people to get a feel for who you are. It doesn't have to be professional. I mean, that's the ideal. But if you've got a smartphone, there's a lot you can do to make it look professional. Just don't make it an obvious selfie. Get someone to help you, which I like to call a helpie. The second piece of visual content is the background image. Now you'll see with mine, I've got lots of different things happening here. This is to show how I work. You can see I speak on stage at conferences. I've got colourful hair. Hopefully that shares a bit about my brand energy, maybe a bit of fun. I've got my brands as well underneath. You can use a single image. It could be a photo, or it could be a graphic you've created to fit this size, or you can create something like this. Now, the tool I recommend for creating your graphics is Canva. Canva is a super simple platform to use. You can use the free version and off you go. So that's visuals. Number 2 is value. How are you showcasing your value on your profile? So I mentioned the headline, that positioning statement, that elevator pitch that sits right under your name. You've got 220 characters to position yourself, and you want to make sure that if they read that, they understand what you do, and it's more than your title and your company. So you don't want to have business owner, founder, director, that sort of thing. You want to have something about the problem you solve, and I'll come to that in a little bit more detail. Second piece of value is the About section. Now, the About section allows you to tell your story and connect to your audience. So my biggest tip here is write in the first person. Don't write about yourself, write from yourself. And the first 3 lines count, because that's what people see first before they click see more to see the rest of the content. So you can have 26,000 characters in here, but it's about capturing attention here. So rather than starting with what you do, I've got 55 years experience and won all the awards. Stop. Put that later, absolutely, but start with the problem. What problem do you solve for your audience? So that they know that you're talking to them and they're in the right place. And if you like, put your contact info, because that way, if people find your profile, they can get in touch with you straight away through their preferred method of communication. It doesn't require them to connect you on LinkedIn or message you on LinkedIn, and it doesn't require you to be connected in order to see your phone number. So that's why I have that there, but it's a personal choice. And the next part of adding value is the featured section, which is a fairly new section. It allows you to feature content, showcase your work, maybe a portfolio, maybe a video, maybe some media where you've been featured in a write-up, maybe an event that's coming up. You can feature posts, you can feature articles, external links, and you can upload documents. Now that leads me to point 3, video. Now video is a great piece of content to use in the featured section, because when you see video, you can get a bigger sense for who the person is from hearing them, from seeing them, from reading their body language, seeing their energy as well as reading their content. So definitely take advantage and use video, whether it's you speaking to camera, whether it's your voice-over, like this video I'm creating here. You can't see me right now, but you can just hear my voice. You've already seen me though, because you were at my presentation, or maybe you missed it, but this is just voice-over slides. You can also do animation type videos. So there's a lot of different things you can do with video to connect to your audience. The 4th V is validation. Validating your skill set and your expertise. And there's various sections you can use for this. The first is experience. Experience is kind of like your online resume in reverse order, where you put in your job title, which company you worked at, a bit of a description about what you did there, and then some media. But don't just use a description to share your job description. Talk here about the problem you solve once again, the difference you made, the achievements in that particular role. And if it's your business, obviously, you're going to talk about the problem you're solving for your clients and that sort of thing. Job title, doesn't have to be your formal title. And this is where, you don't have to call yourself the director, the business owner, the founder, whatever it is. You can be creative in here because you want to be thinking about what is going to make sense to your audience. If you've just got business owner and your company is XYZ Consulting, I don't know what you do. Now, this shows up in Google search. So when you Google search yourself, when you've done that bit of homework, you will see your name and then dash your title, which it pulls from the first line of your experience, the very thing that's at the top, and then your company name. So if you've got, instead of keynote speaker, if I had business owner, then it wouldn't give any context in Google. So just keep that in mind. Education is something you want to add in, just gives that extra credibility and adds, shares your story of where you've been. Certification, so if there's something specific to your industry or a license, you can pop in that section. Volunteering gives another level to your profile. It could be professional volunteering, it can be personal volunteering. It just gives more, it just shows that there's more to you than just your work. Skills, you can have up to 50 and 3 are pinned at the very top. So you want to make sure the 3 that are pinned are your most important skills. And of course, then people can endorse you for those skills. Recommendations are the written testimonial side of LinkedIn. Super important and have a lot more credibility than endorsement of skills. But there's something that most people just don't ask for. They wait to be given them. And often people just don't think of doing that on LinkedIn. So don't be afraid to ask, particularly if someone's already said, some great words, maybe in an email, maybe verbally. Ask them if they can put that onto a recommendation. And then finally, accomplishments, which sits down the very bottom in the basement of your profile. They're just the extra bits and pieces. Things like if you've got membership of an organization in your industry, have you published something, projects you've worked on, honors and awards, things like that, you can pop down the very bottom. And the final V is voice. Now, this applies to your entire profile, but also the content you share. Work out what voice you're going to take. Are you going to be conservative? Are you going to be quite confrontational? Or somewhere in between? But the big tip is write in the way that you speak, because if you're writing very formal on LinkedIn and you don't speak very formally in person, there's going to be a disconnect. So make sure it's your voice. So whether you're writing your profile or you're writing content for LinkedIn or engaging with people, write in your voice. Now, if you've decided to outsource your profile writing or even your content on LinkedIn, which incidentally, I actually do that as a service, make sure that the person you're working with, writes in your voice or close to, your voice, because see that noise just, it's really important. That's why I wanted to make sure that you really got it, because a lot of people outsource their LinkedIn and say, oh, you're an expert, go and do it. But you need to kind of get someone who's able to be you or work with you to get your voice out there. So when I work with clients, I help people express themselves. So I might, organize the profile and start the writing process, but I want clients to change words and mix it up to make it their voice. And also with voice when I talk about the content that you're sharing, share updates. Now you can create content from scratch. You can curate content, as in share other people's content with your thoughts. And conversing with other people, that's also content. So making sure that when you do share, just get clear on what your voice is or how you want people to feel. So that's the profile, very high level. Obviously, I run workshops on this sort of stuff. So I run workshops on building your profile, building your company page, publishing on LinkedIn, networking on LinkedIn. And I've even got one I run on video particularly. So I've got lots of different workshops that you can engage me on. And just as a side, if you're in WA, Queensland or Northern Territory, which obviously you're in WA being at this event, you can access me through Business Station's ASBAS program, which is a government subsidised program, and places at the workshops, which are 2 hours online at the moment, are only $35. So no brainer. So you can sort of book into a whole range of workshops. They're available on my website. You'll see them on my Facebook page on the events tab. They're all listed there as well, so they're easy to find. But if you're not sure, just ask. Now I'll just go back into recap the headline. I've got a fair few formulas, but this is my most common. So that positioning statement under your name, it follows you everywhere. It shows up in search. It shows up when you engage with people. It sometimes shows up on other people's profiles. So rather than it being your title and your company, like business owner XYZ consulting, start with what is your expertise? What is the outcome of engaging your help? And that might be a sentence, or it might be just a list separated by little symbols. Then you can put in your business name if you want people to know your business name and you're building brand awareness. And or you could put in how you deliver your services. So is it consulting? Is it training? Is it is it something else? So put that together. So here's an example. So LinkedIn training and social marketing strategy is my expertise. To future-proof your brand, that's the outcome of working with me. Connectfluence it's not my business name, but it's the name of my program, and it's the name I want aligned to my brand. And keynote conference speaker is the delivery method. So that's one way of doing it. Here's another one. So sustainability for leaders is the expertise. To create cultural change is the outcome. XYZ consulting is the business. Now, I mentioned XYZ consulting before, but it doesn't give any context to what the person does. So if they're a business of one, having that business name may be irrelevant. It might be better off having what they actually do, how they work. Maybe they could have consulting, coaching, and training, something like that. So it's a little bit clearer as to how they sort of deliver their services. But if you do want to build brand awareness, then absolutely put your company name in there. Now, with recommendations, you can't link to them from the profile. You can't really do much with them. The most recent two are featured. Other than that, you have to click see more to see them, and keep clicking see more, and it shows you 5 more. So this one's from 2018. It's way down my profile, so you won't be seeing this one unless you click see more many, many times. So, the reason I wanted to share this is you can take a screenshot of a recommendation and put it somewhere else. So in this case, it's in my slides, in my presentation. I could use it on my website, which I do. I could take a sentence out of this, or, the key point out of this recommendation, and use it as a caption, as a quote on my product brochures or something like that. So recommendations are quite powerful because that way you've got that linkage between them. It's actually there. The person's not only name and photo there, but if you click on it, you can go to the person's profile and find out more about them, and even ask some questions about the person they're recommending. But I love this recommendation, and this is why I use this example from Ian Stevens, because it gives some tangible results. So I worked on his profile for him and with him, and within 2 weeks, $16,000 of additional business and 92% return on investment, which is fantastic. And I know from there, he's re-engaged with those clients and, got more work. So I think it's like 4 times as much in work again. So LinkedIn does give you the return, but it's like I said, it's not a sales tool directly. Sales are a result of doing good LinkedIn strategy, but it might just be letting people know that you're still in business, reminding them you're there, and then consistently showing up, sharing content to be of value. So I mentioned before, LinkedIn, you've obviously got your profile, which we're talking about. You've got a page for your business, which connects to your profile. And if you've got a team, then this is a nice connection point for people, for content. You've got groups on LinkedIn, which are communities. They're not hugely valuable at the moment just because they've taken a bit of a back seat, but it's a nice way to network and get to know people. And, they are coming back to life slowly. LinkedIn even has events. So events you can list on your profile, on your page, you can invite people, and there's an events tab on pages now if you've activated the feature. There's obviously content, so the whole feed is full of content from different types, from people that you follow, from companies you follow as well, and occasionally groups as well. So that's really the look and feel of the LinkedIn dashboard. But the thing I want you to understand about LinkedIn is it's not just about you and where you're showing up. It's about the network and how it works. So with LinkedIn, you connect to people. They are your first level connections, essentially. Now, they've got their own set of connections, but because you've got each other in common, their connections become your second level connections. And then connections of those people in the second circle, the second tier, become your third level connections. Now, the reason that's super important to understand is that whenever you share an update on LinkedIn, now, it's all dependent on the algorithm, and that's quite complex in itself. But when you share an update, your first level connections may see your update in their feed, depending on if the algorithm decides to show it to them. But if there's someone that's been interacting with you or LinkedIn thinks you needs to see your stuff, they'll see it. Now, if they decide to comment on your update, they're exposing your update to their network. And this is how you reach the second degree away from you. Now, if those people decide to comment on your update, they're exposing your update to their connections who are 3 degrees away. So if you're not sharing any content on LinkedIn whatsoever, you're missing an opportunity to be seen by the connections of your connections and beyond. And this is where your visibility can be, escalated. So having an update on LinkedIn through posts is really valuable. Now, posts, you don't have to share a lot. It could be just once a week. It might be even less than that. But having something on a consistent basis will help you show up. We talked about the nearby feature. We demonstrated it. Now, this is something you can only do with people in the room within the vicinity because it uses Bluetooth to activate. But whenever you're running a networking event, tell people to turn this on and help them connect to each other. So you tell them to go to the My Network icon down the very bottom with the 2 people. Then you click on the little blue button and turn nearby on. And then once it's on, people will start popping up in the room. And then you can connect or you can message them if you're already connected. So it's a really valuable way to connect quickly without having to, swap business cards and whatnot. Of course, then once you're connected, you need to then go in and make sure that you manage your relationships and send maybe a message afterwards saying, great to meet you at blah, blah, at this event, at the catch-up event, and then take it from there. Now, I mentioned content. So content's really important on LinkedIn. You want to make sure that you're sharing some content on a regular basis. So I said it might be for you every fortnight. It might be once a week. I aim to share about 2 to 3 times a week. More than that, I don't tend to do unless there's a lot happening, but that's my sort of main sort of aim for LinkedIn. Now, when you share content, you don't just want to share basic stuff. I've got some whole formulas, but this is the formula, E cubed plus IC squared. So in your content, you want to tell a story and you want to add value. But if you can educate, enlighten, and evoke some sort of emotion, that's ideal. If you can do all 3, brilliant. But if you aim to do at least one of those things, but all 3, brilliant. The IC squared, so the first one is to invite conversation, and you do this by asking a question. And you can also mention people who are involved if you want to reference or credit someone. That's also essentially a way of inviting conversation as well. The second IC is indexing your content. So this is where hashtags come in. Having sort of 3 to 5 hashtags to tell LinkedIn and your audience what this is about. It will help you show up in the feed because people follow hashtags. If you reference your content with a hashtag, then the 2 can kind of marry up and you might be seen. So it's doing a bit of research on hashtags to work out which ones are right for you and have an audience. So that's something I cover in my content workshop. The other type of content you can share, so there are posts on LinkedIn, there are articles, so this option here, which is kind of like a blog on LinkedIn. That's the second type of content. And within the post type of content, you've got photos, videos, documents. You can do a poll on LinkedIn, so that's down here. If you click on the desktop version, you'll get to poll. This option here is from mobile as well. And there's other things you can share. But the third type of content is stories. Now, this is only available on the mobile app. At the very top, you've got your story, and you'll see all the stories from people in your network that you're following. So you click the plus. You can either take a photo or video there and then, or you can upload something you've created already. Videos can be up to 20 seconds, and then you can put text over. So a bit of a description about what it's about. You can tag people using what's called stickers. And there are other little stickers that you can do to make it cute, like this one here, so excited, and this little arrow, they're stickers. And that's it really. They last for a day, so 24 hours. People can view them, they can reply by message, they can't react or do anything with them, but it's a nice way of quickly sharing the behind the scenes of what's going on in your world. If it's not really news feed worthy, you might create a story. I'm still not sold on how these are going to go going forward. Australia is a beta tester country, so we've had access for a couple of months now. I've been testing it. I do like the feature, but I'm not sure that it would be taken up by some people. It's very Instagram-esque in some of those type platforms, but it's a bit of fun, and it allows you to create content that's not indexed. It's not available on your profile anywhere. Once the 24 hours go, it disappears, and you can only see it on the mobile app through looking here. So it's quite restrictive as to where it goes. So you can, like I say, you can sort of drop the guard a little bit and be a bit more relaxed in this type of content. And you can see here, once the 24 hours have gone, it's no longer available. So you can see the preview, but you can't click on it and go anywhere if someone's shared it with somebody, because you can send it in a private message. You can download it if you want to as well, or you can delete it. But once you've sent it in a private message and 24 hours have passed, it disappears. Like it's no longer a link. So on LinkedIn, content is king, but engagement is queen. And if you understand that sort of 3 degrees, how that works, you'll understand how you can reach other people. So it's not just about sharing your content and getting people to engage with you. It's also about engaging with other people. Engagement is liking, reacting, and commenting. But commenting is where the value is, because that's where you're building a relationship. That's where you're establishing your credibility in what you say and sort of investing in that relationship as well. So my framework between the formula for your content versus engaging with other people's content, I say, this is my recommendation anyway, for every piece of content you share, I recommend that you engage with at least 9 other people's content, just to mix it up a bit. So that takes off the pressure then to create your own content, because if you're posting an update on LinkedIn as a post once a week, that just means then you can engage with 9 people at least during the week. Much more manageable than, say, committing to posting once a day. Because posting content is great. I mean, and I've got frameworks to write about it, like I said. But if all you're doing is posting content, you're talking at your audience. You're not talking with them necessarily, unless you're responding back. You're missing an opportunity to build relationships with other people. And it's all about building Connectfluence. So it's about being discovered and discovering people, connecting with them, building relationships with conversation, engaging with other people and influencing them as a result to make an impact. And content sort of sits in here between connection and engagement. Content it gives something for people to engage with in terms of your stuff, but content from others allows you to engage with them. So this has been a bit of an overview of the session. As I mentioned, I run lots of workshops. Now I've got the next one coming up is the 19th. So next week, LinkedIn publishing, where I go through how to create posts, all the different types of posts, my framework for writing posts, creating images, creating articles, and creating stories, and then how to review the performance, because there's metrics on LinkedIn that you can look at as well. So if you're interested in learning how to share content on LinkedIn, book for the LinkedIn publishing workshop. I've also got, like I said, a company page workshop, a profile building workshop, an actual general content workshop, which is now, I think the next one is October. I've got a MailChimp email marketing workshop, bit of a sidestep, not LinkedIn, but another way of communicating with people. Yeah, so if you want to attend, they're about $35 each, and you can also book me for a one-on-one advisory, which allows you to pick my brain. Generally, they're done via Zoom, but we can do it in person, at times that suit me. I've got a cafe fairly close to my house that I use sometimes, so that's always good. And cafes are always great, unless you're in an area that I'm going to be in anyway. So you can book up to 2 hours a month for $66 per hour. $44 is for your first hour with the program. So it's a really good program to get into. It means you can access me for a fraction of my costs and just essentially pick my brain, get me to look through your profile, help you build it, ask questions. I've set up company pages, together in the session, gone through content strategies, gone through networking strategies, looked at metrics. And then there's also other platforms that we look at. So it could be Twitter, it could be video creation, it could be, getting started with your video content, and just planning content in general, the different types of content you're going to create, social media management tools. So there's one that I'm a partner with, networking, event management, so using tools to set up your events, running webinars, also anything to do with connection and content and positioning. They're the 3 areas that I specialize in, and the tools that allow you to do that. So thanks very much for watching this quick review video. And if you were at the session live, it was great to meet you there. If you're watching the catch up, feel free to connect me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. And don't forget to get the copy of my LinkedIn profile blueprint, which I will be sharing. Use that as a reference. It's just been updated to match the new LinkedIn. So and it gets updated often. So if you'd like to stay up to date, feel free to join my email list, which I also use to share what's new with LinkedIn and what I've got coming up event-wise. So thanks very much, and I look forward to seeing you on LinkedIn.